Hello and welcome to Disciples Ministry, and today we are going over Romans 12, 1 verses 1 and 2. So basically this is just a passage talking about sacrificing your bodies for Christ, and I'll read it to you. So Romans 12, 1 and 2. So therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world. Notice how he says patterns of this world. So that would be a very key thing to note. But be transformed by renewing of your mind. That's also a very important one too. Of basically, the key word is renewing and transformed as well. And then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is good, pleasing, and perfect will. So this whole passage really stands out, and I find like a lot of people have a lot of times like struggling in their spirituality with God, and I believe this is a really important verse and chapter to be reading through if you're ever having struggles. One thing that you can, of course, get from this passage is to people have a hard time sacrificing pretty much everything for God, like sacrificing, like your free time, like pretty much like your free time. Like a lot of people put a lot of their time and their effort into watching TV once they finish work, or playing video games, or doing drugs, or doing all these other things that they used to like, that they do, like their patterns of of the world. They're still in that pattern phase of basically obeying the patterns of like what their life was before, and they brought that into and they still have that going with them, and it's continuing. So this has a lot to say. So one thing I could say is like, number one is to let go of this world in order to experience God fully. I think that's what the main thing is that they're trying to describe right here, which is very important, because it's like you want to put your full effort into something in order to get the most out of it. If you only put partially out of it, you're only going to get partially, you'll receive partial of it, so that's very important. So to give everything up fully, and not to have any wavering. It's like a lukewarm Christian. They put some of their time into God, but they also don't put much time into God. They do half and half, and God doesn't like that at all. Like he says, he doesn't like people who are lukewarm, and he despises people like that. It's either you're on one side or the other. You're on the good side or the bad side. So I think to experience God fully and his perfect will is to give up 100%. Now this 100% is not gonna happen right away. It takes time to self-destroy your patterns, like of your worldly living. And then second point that I found is that we must sacrifice ourselves daily, not letting sins into our life so easily. So this another part of sacrificing yourself daily, whether it be people have addictions with TVs, or just like watching TV and something that's pretty much mindless, that's not going to help you spiritually for the most part, or video games, or just daily routines, where you're spending too much time away from God. That could actually be a sin when you put something before God all the time. Even kids, even your parents, even anything, can become a part of sin, when you put too much time away from God. You have to set some time aside, and to always be sacrificing yourself to God. Third point is God wills is the best for us, so we have to trust God in everything we do. So that goes to the last verse. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God will is good, pleasing, and perfect will. Oops. And then so God has the best for you. It's up to you to decide if you want to trust Him 100% or not. He won't force you in anything. I found this, like He's definitely not going to force you. It's something that you have to be 100% committed. And that's probably like one of the hardest things ever, is to be 100% for God and to trust Him fully, and also count the cost, because this is something that's very hard. To count the cost is meaning you give up everything, and that's basically what it means to be a Christian. You give up everything, your life, your family, everything. But God, will reward you for that, but you have to stay faithful to Him till the very end. And that's like a really hard thing to swallow. And when times get tough, and they will obviously get tough, and as a Christian, I found that since I became a Christian, it's becoming even more evident that it gets harder and harder sometimes. Sometimes you just want to quit. It's like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'd rather not sin anymore against you. It's like, I'd rather die than live in this world, and you get to that point and you're just like, this is just miserable. But then just reading passages and reading God's will renew you, and you have to keep doing this daily, or else, it's like, if you don't train yourself and to renew your mind and stuff like that, and to put yourself back on track and to refocus and to remember what your promise was to God, then it'll be nearly impossible for you to get back on track if you don't do any of those things. In fact, like, you could probably fall away if you don't refocus your mind daily and to be strong and to remember your promise with God. Because I can tell you, it's like, life will definitely get you down so hard that you would want to give up. But if you focus and remember God and the things that He's done for you, and just to do that is going to definitely help you out. Like, I find reading God's word every day definitely helps. If I wasn't doing it, then I would definitely be in another place, or probably it'll be, I'll be this lukewarm Christian, which is something I do not want. And the fourth thing would be, following up with that, is that to trust God in everything means that you break away from everything of this world. So, with any addiction, people have sins in their lives where it distracts them because they have this pattern of worldly sinning, and therefore God can't do 100, like He can't really work 100% in your life if you have these things that are hindering you, these sinful patterns. So to break them, you have to do this every day. You have to really work on it, and to have that working, break your patterns, and then God will work in you. So it's a trust. You first trust Him, and then God will help you out. He'll watch over you. He'll keep you strong. And lastly, we must be renewing our minds daily. This includes praying to God, reading the Bible, and doing God's will. So I find that praying is a tough one to do. Sometimes it's like brushing that's not like brushing teeth, it's like flossing your teeth, or you rarely do it and you feel like it doesn't work sometimes. And the reason is because prayer does work, but you have things that hinder you from your prayers. This comes with doing obedience to God, where you read the Bible and also do His will. I find that God really answers somebody's prayers if they're 100% for God and they're doing their will. Then their prayers will not be hindered because they are obeying God, and God is able to listen to their prayers now. Whereas if you just pray and continue doing your sinful ways, it's like, well, you're not doing anything to help out. You know, like there's a path that's blocking you from receiving my my um my gifts and my grace and stuff like that. So I find that um, to get rid of your sinful patterns definitely is like you're walking. Say it's like say like you're walking. The path is like you're walking in the mountains, and then the path, you see a path and then it kind of disappears in the grass, you know. Whereas if you were whereas if you trust God, you know where the path is and you know where to follow it, you know, and the path will show itself, you know, and you just trust in that. So that's kind of what I understood from Romans 12 verses 1 to 2. If you guys have any questions or any comments, this is something I'm new with and wanting to just basically share my thoughts of like the Bible and kind of my experience. So yeah, if you guys can leave me a comment, something I could help improve myself on, or other scriptures that this can help me out with, or you know, verses and stuff to also go along with this, let me know in the comments. And till then, I pray that God watches over you guys and keeps you guys strong.